Welcome to the SleeperBot Show. This is producer Steve, and happy 420 Day to all you out there. We've got a very special show for you today. It's a combination hybrid super deluxe variety show. I don't know what you want to call it, but we've got two big segments. All right, so first of all, I've got coming up first a very, very special interview with friend of the podcast, NFL Network's Marcas Grant. He'll be on with Professor Chris, Julian, and Hussein. And then after that, we are going to do a sneak preview of a brand new show here on SleeperWire. It's a show about Dynasty. It's a show about Devy, IDP, and Rookies. This is going to be, we're just going to play a sample of the show for you in this episode. But if you want to hear the whole show, stay tuned. The entire Dynasty show will be posted also, so you can hear the entire thing. So, without any more talking, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come in right back with the Marcas Grant interview, and then after that, the preview of the new Dynasty show. Thank you for tuning into the SleeperWire. We'll be right back. April 30th is the return of Metal Mock Monday. What is it? Well, Metal Mock Monday is a live radio show where we mock draft with the SleeperWire crew and listeners. There's metal music playing in the background. Sometimes I take requests. And we chat with you guys. We chat with the listeners. We take calls. It is just the best hangout on a Monday night in the off season. And mock drafting will help you win your league. The metal music is just a nice bonus. Season launch show for Metal Mock Monday is April 30th, right after the NFL draft. We'll have all the rookies in there, know where they're going. So join the SleeperWire channel on the SleeperBot app. Search for Facebook groups. You can find us at SleeperWire Fantasy Football Club. Join us on Facebook, or just go to SleeperWire.com. You'll get the details there in all those places when we start our show. Join us for the season launch of Metal Mock Monday, April 30th, only on the SleeperWire show.
Welcome, everybody, to the SleeperWire show. What a show we have for you guys today. Not only do we have news, not only are we revealing details on the SleeperWire Pro-Am, but we have a very special guest, longtime good friend of the show, who was on for, I believe, the fifth time, Marcas Grant from NFL.com and NFL Network's NFL Fantasy Live Show. There's a lot of NFL in there.
We're just a small mom and pop operation. Just kind of, we're just trying to get off the ground. Hopefully, the more we say the name, the more people will know about it.
All right, I'm your host, Professor Chris, and with me, along with Marcas Grant, I have our Prophet Hus. What's going on, man?
What's up, Chris, man? Awesome to be back on with you. It's been some while since we talked about some football, and I'm itching.
Oh, it's been a week. You'll get back. And we also got Julian. Julian, it's been a long time since I've heard your voice. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's been like 2 hours, right? No, but it's seriously good to be on again with you. It has been a while.
This is crazy. This is around the time that Marcus and I was calling Kareem Hunt. I believe so.
That's right. Yeah. By this time I was fully on the Kareem Hunt bandwagon. I was driving that bus at this point.
All right, as usual, we're going to kick it off with a quick question here. So as you guys know, we are in that trade talk, coach speak, rumor mill part of the season right here before the NFL draft. And we had a big trade rumor come through this week. Kirkman of Kirk and Callahan reported that Rob Gronkowski will be traded before the start of the 2018 season. So once again, this is just speculation at this point. But here's my question, and I'll give it to you first, Marcus. Where would be your favorite landing spot for Gronk if he were to be traded? Where do you want to see him go?
Oh, wow. I mean, a guy like Gronk fits pretty much anywhere. My thought would be to have him go, and maybe this is my homerism coming out, being a Bay Area guy, but have him go to San Francisco, right? Like have him team up with Jimmy G. Right. They've got some decent guys on the outside. They're trying to build an offense under Kyle Shanahan. You put a guy like Gronk in there, and suddenly the Niners are a legit playoff contender, and maybe they challenge, because the Rams. Look, man, I live in L.A. The Rams have been loading up. So you put Gronk in there, and the Niners maybe, they can really compete with the Rams in the NFC West.
Yeah, I like it. So then you would maybe not like George Kittle nearly as much.
That's fine.
You're cool with that?
I mean, that's fun. Look, George Kittle's a talented guy. He's a talented young guy. But if you have a chance to get Gronk, why wouldn't you do that?
You sacrifice George Kittle.
It's Gronk versus Baby Gronk. I mean, come on. Who are you gonna
take? Is it Baby Gronk? I don't know.
I don't. Well, okay,
Baby Gronk, except we named Baby Gronk at this point. Gronk's career.
All right, Hus, what about you? Your landing spot.
Man. I mean, if I had to pick a landing spot for him, don't the Raiders need a tight end? I mean, who do they have? They have nothing, I feel like. I would love him to end up in the Bay Area. I'm sure Marcus would love that, too. He'd be able to see him a lot more. I think that would be a nice landing spot for them. And if they're ever going to take the next step to be in a Super Bowl team, I don't think they're going to close to being a Super Bowl team. But I know their fan base, and they've been making strides, right? I just don't know. But I would love to see him there.
What about you, Julian?
Man, it'd be probably amazing for the Rams if they got him. Just with their stacked offense and Goff coming into his own and Todd Gurley, of course. And Gronk would just be that, a substantial piece to the team. And so it'd be nuts if he got traded to the Rams.
And I'd like to see him on the Lions. I think him and Matthew Stafford could do some serious work. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
anywhere he goes, man. Anywhere he goes, he's gonna rack up points.
True. I just didn't want anywhere to be the answer to the question.
Right. Anywhere. Generic.
Place
him anywhere.
Right.
Arbitrary.
Of course, it has to be. The quarterback has to be right. It can't be like Mark Sanchez, but
Speaking of, let's get into that piece of news. Mark Sanchez was suspended for 4 games for violating the performance-enhancing drug policy. So thank you for that segue, Julian.
Can we move along?
Look,
right
that's why
you mentioned
and that's why I'm here.
Marcus, you got anything for this?
Other than it's NFL silly season and we got to have something to talk about. I mean, this would have been a bigger story, 5-6 years ago, something like that. Like this would have kind of been big news, but as a USC alum, it sort of hurts my heart. But football wise, Mark Sanchez, I think, is on his last legs as an NFL player. So this may just signal the end of him in a professional football uniform, at least an NFL uniform.
We had a couple big name players retire this week, or at least announce their retirement. Nick Mangold retiring after 11 great seasons in the NFL. So one of the all-time great centers, put together a great career in New York. I'm sure Julian enjoyed watching him play.
I just thought he'd never retire, man. When that day came, I was so stunned. I was like, no, he's ageless. But
he's not. Though. Yeah.
And James Harrison also announced his retirement after 16 seasons. It's going to be weird to not see him in the NFL.
That was a shock to me.
It was to me as well.
I was kind of shocked that he came back last year.
I just felt like he had that chip, and after coming so close to winning a championship this past season, I just felt like, why not just pop him on another team? I mean, I think he showed decent production when he was on the Patriots. Money may not make sense. It's a young man's league. It makes sense for him to retire.
Yeah, it certainly does. Yep. All right, Marcus, I want to get your thoughts on this next thing because it's maybe the biggest speculation situation I think I've ever seen. Dallas's Mike Fisher senses the Giants are number 1 on Dez Bryant's wish list. Let me repeat that. This is a radio station in Dallas. Senses that the Giants are number 1 on Dez Bryant's wish list. Why are we listening to this? Why is this, coming across as news? Like, why are we even seeing this?
It's April. And football people want to talk about football. And so the slightest little kernel of football news that is out there, people will take and run with it. I mean, a lot of this came because I'm sure you probably saw the story. Once the Cowboys decided they were parting ways with Dez, as he was driving away, he made the comment, I'll see you guys twice next year. So that suggests one of 3 places, and actually probably one of 2, because we figured the Eagles are going to set at wide receiver, so they're probably not going to make the move for a guy like Dez. So then that leaves Washington and then the Giants. So, I don't know. I feel like both those teams are fairly well set at wide receiver. Right. I know for the Redskins, maybe they could add a guy like Dez, but I think they've got some young, talented guys that they really like there. The Giants maybe have a spot for Dez. I would say that because you've got Odell coming back. You've got Sterling Shepard, but Brandon Marshall, I mean,
right? Yeah,
is he actually back? If he does come back, how much does he really have left to offer? So, I can see it, but I still think we're a long ways away from anything. Nothing's going to happen with Dez until after the draft is over, first of all.
I just don't that'd be a bad downgrade for Evan Ingram owners.
Yeah, I think it would be because I think they would do a lot of the same things. But I think it gives you 3 wide receivers in
right.
Dez, Odell, and Shep, who are all three very different.
Yeah, 100%.
I did want to add just the drama effect of all of that, and I know he wants some vengeance against his Cowboys. Giants would be the ideal spot.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. SleeperWire's Julian senses that.
Yeah.
Tingling.
All right. Moving on to our last piece of news here. Andy Reid did not have a solid answer when he was asked about Spencer Ware's health this past Monday when referring to his PCL and MCL, I believe it was. But the Chiefs are stacking up running backs right now. So they signed Kerwin Williams to a deal this week. That brings their depth chart to Kareem Hunt, Spencer Ware, Charkandrick West, Akeem Hunt, and then the newly signed Williams brothers, Kerwin and Damian, who were Cardinals and Dolphins last year, respectively. So this kind of made me wonder. I'm struggling with the keeper decision in one league, and maybe you can shed some light on this. I'm leaning towards Kareem Hunt over Julio Jones, but if they keep stacking running backs, keep in mind this league I've already got David Johnson and Zeke. So do I lean Kareem Hunt like I have been thinking, or they're signing all these guys who were starters at some point? Do I go with Julio?
I think you stay with Kareem Hunt because that gives you 3 potentially top 5 running backs right there. And I know we talk a lot about running backs being devalued right now, but I think that's when you look at the whole field of running backs. You're looking at the guys at the top. You're still talking about a handful of elite guys, and if you can hold on to 3 of those elite guys, I think you do that, and you figure out a way to either get a guy like Julio or somebody equivalent at the wide receiver spot when you hit the draft.
100%. I mean, if you're talking about keeping a guy, definitely advise for that. Now, if you're talking about just selecting a guy, Kareem Hunt's draft value is definitely. I don't want to even say definitely because he's one of those guys where where were you? Where were you grabbing Trent Richardson a few years back, right? Like the eighth spot in the first round, and he just completely busted for you. Terrible, right? Like 5-6 years ago. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities that sophomores do slump. Even Todd Gurley did it, right? So I look, and I love Kareem Hunt. I absolutely love him. I love getting him at a value. Chris knows I love value, and I bring it up on every show, right? But I love getting him at a value. Right now, we're not getting him at a value. You never know. I love him. I'd still keep him over Julio. But, if you're talking about redraft, probably still take Hunt. I don't know.
Yeah, I still like Kareem Hunt. I say that offense is, the only real question mark in that offense is Patrick Mahomes now that he's the starting quarterback, and just kind of not knowing exactly what you're going to get from him on a week-to-week basis. But the rest of that offense is still great, and they've got a great offensive-minded head coach there in Andy Reid. So. Right. I know that we get frustrated with Andy Reid because sometimes he'll forget to give the ball to his best player, and then afterwards, how many times have we seen post-game press conferences where Andy Reid basically says, like, yeah, I should have given the ball more. But I still believe in that offense, and I still believe in Kareem Hunt.
100%.
Yeah, I think these are just, insurance policies for these other running backs. Maybe less of a workload than last year, but I think he's still going to put up numbers.
And I look at all these other guys as kind of pass catching backs. I don't even look at them at the same threat as Kareem Hunt is. They got Anthony Thomas, they got Damian Williams, Charkandrick West. He's a pass catching back. All these guys are pass catching backs. Other than Kerwin Williams, and are we afraid of Kerwin Williams? No.
He's
Kerwin Williams. I'm more afraid of Spencer Ware. He's still getting back from being healthy.
Have the Chiefs signed and cut C.J. Spiller at all in the last 2 weeks? Has it happened for the 7th time?
I'll put money.
I think he's still on the roster.
Is he still?
I believe he's still on the roster.
So then they're gonna cut in training camp or something, and then sign him.
He's currently a free agent.
I put money on one of these guys getting cut for sure.
He's
they're not going
currently
to
a free
keep all
agent.
6 of these guys.
Yeah.
No way they keep all 6. Next thing we're going to do here, the other segment for the show, is talk about some, mid-April average draft positions. And we figured this would be a little bit fun to throw in here before the NFL draft comes in and we see things start really moving. But one thing I've noticed so far is that there are more people mock drafting in April than I've ever seen.
Yeah, me too.
It's just people did not stop this year. It's awesome, but people did not stop. So we're already seeing ADPs move around and everything. And so I found some that I thought were way too high and some that I thought were way too low and ones that I want to talk about here. Now, I don't want you guys to hoose it up and spend 3 minutes on your answer for each one of these guys.
It's usually what we get with who's.
That's why you say hoose it up.
Just give me a too high, too low, or that's about right, and then limit yourself to 2 sentences.
Semi-hoose.
I gotta put some constraints on this one. All right, so first, I think this is too high. I'm gonna go to you, Marcus. Alvin Kamara still being drafted at 5th overall in PPR mocks, and I'm looking at 12-team PPR here.
5th overall. Yeah, that's a touch too high. I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet, but there's still a lot of mouths to feed in that Saints offense, and that concerns me a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Marcus.
I gotta agree too. And the bar that he just set, I don't know if he can match that. It'll definitely decline a little bit. Especially with that offense, but he still will be utilized, but he won't perform as high numbers as last year.
Oh yeah, certainly. And I've been talking whenever someone asks me on SleeperBot about Alvin Kamara, I always tell them, I'm not drafting him until the 2nd round. He's not going to be my first round pick this year.
Well, in that case, you're not getting Alvin Kamara.
Exactly.
No, he's going first round.
I know. But speaking of Saints running backs, though, Mark Ingram no longer being disrespected at the running back position after he finished as running back 4 straight years now?
Yep.
He's going at the 208 when Hoos in last year's Pro-Am, the team you and I were running, I believe we drafted him in the 6th.
Yeah, and I think I think we both wanted him earlier, and I think we probably got talked out of it each round. You and I were probably high on him around round 3 or 4. Am I right, or am I being a little overzealous?
I was probably around 4 or 5.
Yeah, I was definitely around 3. I think I even argued with Jake Seeley, like, hey, man, Ingram's going to be the guy. And he's like, no, Kamara's going to be the guy. They both ended up number 1 guys. So we were both right?
You were.
So I'm happy that he's getting his love now. As I don't like that he's getting this much love, though, because I like value. He's not value anymore to me. So he's probably not going to be on my team.
Yeah, Marcus, what about you? 208, that sound about right?
I'd say that's about right, actually, for me. And it is. No, here's the thing. We love Mark Ingram because, you're right, he was a value. Like he was that guy who was hanging around because nobody seemed to love Mark Ingram.
You just look around the room, you're just like, what? No one's grabbing him?
So when you look at it through the value lens, I get why you'd be kind of down on him. But in terms of just what he offers and what he's done the last couple of years, 208 feels about right to me.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, so next one. This is shocking to me, and I thought that this was going to move, and it hasn't. And I really hope that there's a person in each one of my leagues who does this.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson being taken at the end of the 2nd round.
Jesus.
Yeah, and that's not a mistake. This is happening.
Crazy.
People are mock drafting Deshaun Watson at the end of the 2nd.
That made my heart stop for a little bit.
Yeah,
that's way too spicy for me. I'm sorry. I mean, I love Deshaun Watson.
Too much sauce.
I love Deshaun Watson, but that's too spicy for me.
Yeah, especially after an injury. 3rd round, 4th, or end of 3rd would be ideal. But he's probably going to be taking a 3rd for the most part.
I think I'll probably have Wilson ranked over him. I haven't done Wilson. I love Russell Wilson. Didn't he finish 1st?
Yeah, he was number 1.
The disrespected Russell Wilson.
And you were getting him in the 7th or 8th last year.
It's crazy.
I'm married to the idea of waiting on a quarterback. I know that's a big deal for a lot of people.
Right.
I'm not necessarily married to that idea, but I can't fathom a world in which I'm looking at a quarterback in the 2nd round. I just can't.
Yeah, no.
Nope, that's not
happening.
So I hope that all my league mates see this and go, "Oh, I got to grab him." All right.
Little do they know.
So moving on here, I got a few players here in the. Well, I'm just gonna put it as a question here. So ADP wise, and Marcus, we'll start with you here. Jordy Nelson in the 4th or Allen Robinson in the 5th? Who would you rather take?
A-Rob all day. all day. Allen Robinson.
Who?
100%.
I'm assuming you're going to say Jordy.
Yeah, I got Jordy.
You get Jordy. Yeah. Julian, what about you?
No, I'm going A-Rob too. Penn State alum. I'm Penn State alum. It's A-Rob.
I lean with Hus on this one, though. I do like Allen Robinson, but I think I would rather have Jordy in the fourth. I think he's got it for at least one more year, and I want to see what Robinson can do with Trubisky. All right, so the next one, Ty Montgomery in the fifth or Marshawn Lynch in the sixth, and we'll go same order.
Ooh, I think I'm going to go Ty Mont here. I think if you had said Marshawn in like the seventh or eighth, maybe I would have done that. Sixth seems a touch early for me.
Hus?
Do I have to answer this? On either guy.
Yes.
I mean, I'd rather, I guess, Ty Montgomery, but I'd really much rather wait for Jamal Williams. I think Jamal Williams is a starter.
So if you're in this position, you would take.
Yeah, I'm taking a receiver right now. I'm taking a receiver.
That's not how
I'm
the
taking
game
Jordy
is
right now.
That's not how the game is played. Julian, please play the game.
I mean, sure.
Sorry.
If I have a gun to my head, yeah, I got Ty Montgomery in the fifth. It's very hard to say though. I don't want any of these guys. But yeah, I would
both
I
of
would
these
do Ty
guys.
Mont.
Which is why it's kind of like I see everybody here saying, "Oh, I don't want either of these." This is where their ADPs are.
Gotta
I'm not
take
making
one,
this up. And I think I actually lean towards Marshawn Lynch because I'm not sure Ty Montgomery is going to be the guy. At least I know Marshawn Lynch is going to get a regular amount of work.
Is he though? I mean, Doug Martin is there now too, and I have no idea what John Gruden's going. I mean, John Gruden's out here talking about I don't use GPS stats, and I'm going to take this thing back to 1998. I have no idea what this Raiders offense is going to look like.
No clue. I'm staying far away. I won't have any of these guys.
We're going to find out about Week 14 of the season that it's just Frank Caliendo out there on the sideline. Well, that leads me into the next question. We're talking about Packers running backs. Well, let's go to the other two. Jamal Williams in the 8th or Aaron Jones in the 9th?
Oh, I'll go Jamal Williams. I mean, I do think at some point, I don't know if he takes over as a starter, but I think he gets a significant workload. I'd rather have Jamal Williams than Aaron Jones.
Yeah, you guys know how I feel.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 3 for 3 here. I'm Jamal Williams too.
And we are 4 for 4. I was not a huge Aaron Jones believer last year, so Jamal Williams for me as well. Another surprising stat. ADP, I fully expect this to increase, but it hasn't in a few weeks. It's the same spot. Jerick McKinnon is the last pick in the 5th.
That's insane.
Is it though?
Insane. Come on, Marcus. Don't do this to me.
No. He could be Tevin Coleman 2.0. He's got Kyle Shanahan. They got Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, I'm curious to see what else they do in that backfield. But Jerick McKinnon, when he got his opportunities in Minnesota last year, dude could make plays. I think I like him as a sleeper. Like, I hope he stays around like round 5 or 6.
So it's later than it should be.
I mean, I like it right there. Let's keep it right there. Let's not.
Yeah, keep him in the 5th.
Man, I do love that actually. I do love that for my own selfish reasons, Marcus' own selfish reasons, and love it. So I'm not going to say anything on this one. I'm going to just pass it over to Julian. What do you got to say?
Let's just say it's too early, and then we grab him in the 5th, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, but no, on a realistic scale, come on. I mean, the guy is darn near. I don't even want to say it because I don't want to start this trend where everybody's going to people are going to trend it anyway, but the guy's darn near third rounder. What we
say right here is not going to affect the trend for Jerick McKinnon. The 5th is way too low. That's what I'm getting at. The 5th round into the 5th for McKinnon is way too low. His most likely going to be mid-3rd round somewhere around there.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right, moving on here. Something I have taken a strong stance on, but and I know where Hus is on this as well, but Marcus, Julian, I want to hear what you have to say. Derrick Henry at the end of the 3rd or Dion Lewis in the 7th?
Ooh, I mean, as much as I look, I am on the chairman of the board of the Free Derrick Henry committee, but Dion Lewis in the 7th, man, that's really nice. That's really nice. I love Derrick Henry, but Dion Lewis in the 7th, that's too good.
What about you, Julian?
It's tough. I really like Derrick Henry. And he's gonna be the workhorse. I don't know. I think I might take Derrick Henry.
All right. I know
it's hard to pass up on.
Hus and I are the same spot right here. I think we both agree that Dion Lewis is going to outscore Derrick Henry in all formats.
What?
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
If he plays all 16, Dion Lewis will have more fantasy points than Derrick Henry at the end of the season. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you put a
100%.
qualifier.
Yeah, but I mean, we draft our
risk.
players off of ifs. You know, we draft all of our players off of ifs and
Well, I mean,
opportunities.
seventh round is a good, risk taker for that kind of situation.
I don't even know if that's a risk at that point.
All right, so Tyreek Hill being drafted at the 301, so about where he was going last year, maybe a little bit earlier. Sammy Watkins has a 702 ADP. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about they want whoever's going to be drafted later, but Sammy Watkins in the 7th. Marcus, is that too low? Should he be higher?
No, I think that's about right. We want Sammy to be great. We do. We want Sammy Watkins to be great, but it just hasn't really happened yet. And let's keep in mind, this will be his 5th offensive coordinator in 5 NFL seasons. And I know it doesn't matter quite as much for receivers as it does for quarterbacks, but still, that's a lot of change and a lot of new stuff to learn. So I don't know. I think 7th is about fine. I think even still, I think I'd rather have Tyreek at 3.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I definitely would rather have Tyreek. I just can't buy into Sammy Watkins year after year. I bought him into one year, and I mean, any year you bought into Sammy, it was kind of a mistake.
Not his rookie year.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of just got that him and what as I mean, how I don't have it in front of me, but how early were people taking him? Was he a value, or I don't know if he was taken in the top 4 rounds or anything like that.
Are you? What are you talking
after
about?
that?
His rookie year?
Yeah.
I got him. I remember drafting him in the 6th.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that's good
but
value.
his rookie year, 65 catches, 982 yards, and 6 touchdowns. 2015, 60 catches, 1,047, and 9 touchdowns. He missed half the 2016 season. This last season, only 39 for 593, but he still caught 8 touchdowns.
Right.
So and he gets me every year. I want Sammy Watkins to be good so bad.
Yeah.
And in the 7th, I'm totally okay taking him there. But yeah, maybe after this year, if he burns me for the 4th straight time, I'll learn my lesson.
And you got some patience, Chris. You got some patience.
Well,
you are a professor, though, so that makes sense.
Yeah, she's listening. All right, this next guy has a pretty high ADP in my opinion. That's why I threw him in here. Corey Davis in the 6th round. So here's some guys going after him in the next 2 rounds after Corey Davis. Chris Hogan, Sammy Watkins, Marvin Jones, Juju Smith-Schuster, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Emmanuel Sanders, Julian Edelman, Randall Cobb, Will Fuller. I think I would take almost every single one of those guys
more than half.
Yep.
More than half at least. More than half.
6th round. That feels aspirational. I mean, that really does. Like,
yeah.
You know, that's a pick and a hope, man. I don't want to live that way in the 6th round. I can't do that.
I mean, that's cool. League mates can go ahead and take Corey Davis. There's a whole bunch of other value.
Agreed. All right, so I know Hoos really likes Randall Cobb, but Julia, Marcus, let me get your takes on this as well. Would you rather have Randall Cobb or Corey Davis?
Ooh, I mean, like in the 6th round, I don't want either one of them.
Let's just say in a vacuum.
In a vacuum, I think I'd go Corey Davis. I mean, if we're talking like if I'm just taking a flyer, if I can wait long enough and say wait till like round 8, 9, something like that. They probably won't be there that long, but if I could take a flyer, I think I would take Davis just because I think he's young. Well, he's younger and he has more upside, I think.
I don't know, man. Yeah. Mariota.
I get it. Marcus Mariota's not exciting. I totally understand that, but I just think Davis's athleticism, his youth, his ability. I think it's just the upside is there for.
What about you, Julian?
I think Cobb is still just going to be that kind of safety net. Not too flashy, but I mean, if it's a flyer, Corey Davis might have the better upside. Cobb will just have the most receptions. Yeah, so if it's PPR, Cobb, but if not,
if it's
then
keeper
Davis.
league, it's certainly Corey Davis. 'Cause if you're drafting near the end of the draft and you just want to take a flyer on a guy who could be a keeper for next year, it's Davis. But I think if I'm making this call for just this season alone in a redraft, I'm going to take Randall Cobb if they're both
100%.
available at the round where I would consider drafting them.
Yeah, I just feel like Randall Cobb's going to blow Corey Davis away in points, and I don't even think it's going to be close. I still love Rashard Matthews. I still love Delaney Walker. think those are staples of their offense, and I don't think that the quarterback's going to be looking elsewhere. He likes this security blankets. And Delaney Walker, he's very warm. You put him around your body, you don't even got to you don't even have like a shot of liquor or anything like that. You just put him around your body, and you're just going to be like, oh, I love this. I like it. And you just don't have to look anywhere else. And Rashard Matthews, the guy is elite. I mean, I believe this. Probably only Dirty Jobs Mike is the only other person that believes that Rashard Matthews is elite. I think he is, and he just hasn't had a shot to be elite. He hasn't had enough targets to be elite. He's better than Corey Davis. He is.
Man, I was gonna say that this is the first time in my existence I have heard Rashard Matthews and elite in the same sentence. So
yeah, whenever you get Hus talking about Rashard Matthews,
whenever you get Hus talking, period, you will hear some outlandish stuff. Yeah.
Ones that I think are too late. Does Deshaun Jackson deserve to be at the end of the 14th round?
No. I mean, I get it. I get that he was disappointing last year. I do. Into the 14th. Come on, man. I mean, it's still. I mean, no. He should be higher than that.
Short answer. I love it. Hus, what about you?
It's just super disrespectful. I mean, a guy put up 1,000 yards in 2016. He didn't have a greatest year last year, but I mean, there was a reason. They didn't even have a healthy quarterback. Love Deshaun Watson. Didn't love him last year. I like him a little bit more as a bounce back this upcoming year. I still don't love. He probably won't be on my team just because they have so many weapons, though.
Well, this is kind of what you get out of Deshaun. I mean, his last great season was 2013. But I mean, this is kind of what you're going to get out of him, but he's still a flyer that is better than a 14th round.
Well,
I wouldn't touch him probably before 8th, 9th. I wouldn't touch him at all there.
Yeah. Well, his big difference last year was not getting the long ball. I mean, 2016, where he had that 1,000-yard season, it was 56 catches. Last year was 50. 4 touchdowns 2016. Last year it was 3, but that's, about Deshaun Jackson-ish for the most part. But the difference in receiving yards was almost 350 fewer yards on a roughly the same amount of catches. So that's, not what you want. But I'm hoping that when Winston is back for a full season, that goes up.
Chris, I was looking at this. I'm looking at ADPs. I just pulled it up. And Marquise Lee, man. I want Marquise Lee over him.
That's my next one. Marquise Lee at the end of the 13th.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's late too.
That's insane.
I'm sorry. Say what?
Marquise Lee at the end of the 13th round.
I mean, okay. Did we flash back? Are we at the beginning of 2017? I mean, look, I get it. If we were having this conversation this time a year ago, I understand that. That makes sense.
I understand. I get you on board.
365 days later, that doesn't make any sense. After what he did for a long part of the season, he was the Jaguars' best receiver. He was legitimately productive and a big part of the offense. Into the 13th round doesn't make any sense to me at all.
It's ridiculous.
Totally agree. And this very last one that I have here, guy who was super disappointing, going in the 3rd and 4th round last year, Terrell Pryor in the 15th.
Oh, yeah, that's stupid, too.
Julian, you're a Jets fan.
Yeah, and I'm excited. To see what happens, the outcome of the draft. But this is very disrespectful. It's probably more disrespectful than the Deshaun Jackson one. But I think he's going to be easily slide into the 1 and 2 position, and arguably number 1. And depending on the quarterback situation, McCown is still fine. He can still run. He can still run the offense. This is way too late for him. Way too late for him. I definitely would take him over Deshaun.
You wouldn't take him as one of your starters, though, right? He would be your second or third wide receiver.
No. Yeah. All I said was over Deshaun.
What about you, Marcus?
Really though, maybe I'm the weirdo here, but I actually think this is okay. I think it's fine.
What?
What? I do. Let's be real. Let's just keep it 100
what
right now.
Done. I understand where you're coming from, Marcus.
Let's just keep it 100. The dude's had one. Right. He had one good year. Right. He had one good year, and he is still a converted quarterback who's still kind of learning the nuances of playing wide receiver. For whatever reason, people don't seem to like him. We heard teammates and opponents just talking trash about this dude, and literally he is one he is one Josh McCown injury from irrelevance. And McCown has, he's not had a history of staying healthy during his career. One Josh McCown injury, and Terrell Pryor he's on a milk carton. So.
Bryce Petty did make Robbie Anderson look fairly decent at the end of the 2016 season.
I'll say this. That's the one thing that is working in Pryor's favor. No, is that Robbie Anderson is likely going to be suspended for at least some part of the season after his off-field stuff. But Quincy Enunwa is expected to be back. Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical. I'm staying away from TP.
I actually really love Quincy Enunwa, and I'm surprised people are just forgetting about him so much.
It's easy to forget. I mean, he missed almost basically the whole year. But
and he was only a rookie the year before, too. Yeah. Not like he's been in the NFL for very long.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm higher on him just because he was one of the obscure guys that I love, and he actually produced. So I'm hoping he comes back and has a nice.
I mean, I really like myself some Enunwa. I was waiting for him to break out, and it happened.
Until he broke.
But I don't. But I don't know. It also depends on the draft, right? I mean, it's going to be a quarterback. I personally believe Darnold could be a bust. But I think I really like Rosen. A lot of people like Josh Allen though, just because of the weather he faced where he played at Wyoming. It's cold weather. He did great. He had only 6 turnovers. I think I read in his career there. So it's going to be one of the Joshes.
Can we kill this cold weather thing? Because Aaron Rodgers is West Coast as they come.
Yeah.
It's April. We need something to talk about, right? I'm totally fine with Josh Rosen. I really liked what I at least saw as far as tape and his attitude. I really do. A lot of Jet fans are looking for Baker as well, but I don't know. I think that's way too high for Baker. We could have got Baker at 6. So they're definitely not going to grab Baker at 3.
Yeah, us Colts fans, thank you, Jets, very much for that sweet deal that you sent us. Because now we're still probably going to get the player we were going to draft at 3 at 6. So, yeah, pretty awesome.
It's fine. I'm okay with the Jets. We made a whole bunch of moves that we never do ever in the offseason, and we'll see how it comes out.
Yes, we will. All right, guys. Well, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. So before we go here, the SleeperWire Pro-Am is back. This is our 3rd season and the biggest yet. We had 2 leagues last year and we're looking to double that. You, our wonderful listeners, get to play in a real fantasy football league with pros and shows from around the industry. Last year we had a great roster. Marcus Grant had a team, right? That was awesome. Jake Seeley, Matt Harmon, SleeperBot, Eat Sleep Fantasy, Dynasty Happy Hour, Dynasty Nerds, the Fantasy Life app, Fantasy Football Fellas, Clock Dodgers, Pony Cake Sports, and 515 Fantasy from ESPN Radio. A great list of pros and shows from the industry, and we are certainly expanding that this season to include more pros and shows than ever. As you guys listening know, SleeperWire is a charity. We're dedicated to making a difference in people's lives, and that's the whole reason we do the show and the whole reason we do, the podcast in general. So to enter for a chance to play in the Pro-Am, it's pretty easy. Go to GoFundMe.com/RobJR and donate money. Every denomination of $10 is going to get you a raffle ticket for the Pro-Am, so donate $10, it's 1 ticket. Donate $30, you get 3 tickets, going to triple your chances to get into the league. And go to SleeperWire.com/Pro-Am for more details. Well, Marcus, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, man.
Always love coming on with you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's always great. So why don't you tell our listeners where they can follow you and keep up with what you're doing these days?
I'm on pretty much any form of social media, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. Probably most active on Twitter. That's probably where you'll find me the most. Still doing the Fantasy Life podcast. You can find that on Stitcher, iTunes, etc., etc. And Fantasy Live, actually, we come back for a special on Tuesday, May 1st. It's the Tuesday right after the draft. We are doing a post-draft special, so we'll talk about where some of these top-line rookies went and what they could mean this year for your fantasy team.
This has been great. Follow us on Twitter at SleeperWire Show. You can follow me on there at Seymour SleeperWire. Hus is on there at SleeperWire Hus. Julian is out there at J_Vincent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, on Twitter, yes, JAY Vincent _.
You can follow us on SleeperBot at Professor Chris and Prophet Hus, and the Fantasy Life app at Professor Chris and Hus the Prophet. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We will catch you next time.
All right, excellent interview, Professor Chris, Julian and Hus. You guys gave Marcas the business. You got him talking about sleepers and players he loves and players he doesn't like and all that ADP stuff. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back with the big preview, the sneak preview of the DynastyWire, the new show where we talk about Dynasty Fantasy Football, Devy, IDP, and Rookies. It's all coming up next with our new guy, DraftGenius, right here on the SleeperWire Show. We want to thank you for listening to the SleeperWire Show, the most interactive and accessible fantasy sports podcast out there right now. If you want to reach us anytime, you can join our new Facebook group. Just search for SleeperWire Fantasy Football Club on the Facebook groups. Join us there. Find us on the SleeperWire channel in the SleeperBot app. We're on the Fantasy Life app, and you can go to our webpage, SleeperWire.com. Look for the advice section. You can send us email questions we answer within 24 hours or less. Oh, and lest I forget, we do 2 live shows a week during the season, the Wednesday Mail Sack and the Sunday Morning Blitz, where we answer your questions and take your calls live on the air. So keep in touch with us all year through these ways and more, only on the SleeperWire Show. Okay, and we're back. We're going to play a little preview now, a little 20-minute excerpt of our Dynasty show, DynastyWire, which we recorded. So give it a listen. If you like what we're talking about and you want to hear the entire episode, that is posted as well. You can find it on the SleeperWire homepage and also wherever you download our podcast. It's DynastyWire. Let's join it in progress. I like it. That's a late round, too. I mean, that's, for most people, that's sleeper territory. I think we could go a little bit more, deeper into sleepers, and I think that's what I want to do because the show is, it's a Dynasty Wire, but it's Sleeper Wire, and we love to talk about the sleepers. So DJ Moore around the 12th. That to me, that's like I'm just about completely knocked out. I'm pretty drowsy, but DraftGenius, take me deep, man. I want to go to the deep REM sleep. Let's go to the deep sleepers. All right, in this segment, DraftGenius, you're going to tell me about some deep sleepers. What kind of rounds are we talking about? Are we talking post 12th round? What are we, 12th to 16th round type of guys?
I guess you could say that. It's more of people who might not even be drafted.
Okay.
To be honest with
guys
you.
Guys are going to end up on the waiver wire after the draft.
The deepest of sleepers, whenever you walk into your house and you hear somebody in your house that lives with you just snoring up a storm and they're sleeping good, and that's what these sleepers are about. These are the ones that you could get and nobody's awake on them. Nobody thinks about these guys in a draft, and these are guys who can potentially make or break your season. Honestly, they could be that good to where I think they can win you a year or help you make it to the playoffs.
So these are guys that even if you don't pick them up last round of your draft, a lot of fantasy platforms have the feature where you can flag a player or bookmark a player. Bookmark these guys because a week or two goes by. They might not start off strong, but what you're saying is they could become usable, very usable throughout the season. So those are those kind of guys. Maybe I don't draft when I draft fantasy. I don't draft a defense or a kicker, even if it's required. I always use those spots for 2 extra players. And then I figure out what I'm going to do, make some trades, and then pick up a kicker and defense, before the first game. So if you do like me, these are some guys you might want to slot in. Talk to me about Albert Wilson. You mentioned him in the Saturday show that we did with Dirty Jobs. I want to know what you like about him.
It's not what I like about him. It's what I love about him.
All right.
This guy's 5'9". He's a solid 200 pounds. He doesn't play like he's 5'9". He's quick out of his routes. He's good, little burst. He didn't really get the starting opportunity in Kansas City, and we know the Kansas City wide receivers to not really have that much fantasy value. Going back to Jeremy Macklin's last few years there, Macklin had some really good years there. I'm not taking that away from him. I'm not trying to upset anybody based on a Jeremy Macklin take, but you were kind of scared to draft him. Let's face it.
Well, there was a season. There was a season not too long ago where they didn't throw a single touchdown to a receiver. I thought it was 2016 or something, wasn't it?
I mean, 2016 they threw. I know Macklin had 2 that year because that was his last year there in Kansas City.
Maybe that was the only 2. I don't know. They went a stretch of games where it was just Kelsey and no wide receiver was getting a touchdown. It was really weird.
No, I remember that. I mean, that's scary, right? That's scary to bet on an offense who doesn't throw the ball like that, which, hey, totally going to be a different offense now in Kansas City. I actually love that offense, and I'm trying to get as many pieces to it as I can. Patrick Mahomes is a deep, deep sleeper. I'm not going to talk about him really on here, but that guy is who I'm acquiring in every Dynasty league and every redraft league, any type of league. That's my guy this year. I think he can finish top 7 quarterback this year.
Top 7, wow. All right. I like that.
And,
but we were talking about Albert Wilson. Now, I remember last season, I don't remember how many games. He might have had a stretch of 2 or 3 games where he caught my attention. And I try to look at usually like the last 5 games for players. If somebody's kind of trending up, I might take a little bit of notice, see what's going on there. And I remember I added Albert Wilson. Didn't really pan out for me, but he did have some pop to him. And that's what you're talking about. You see him being successful in Miami, right?
Right. I do. And that's what Albert Wilson does. You know, you said he didn't really pan out for you. He has those little games where he goes 3 for 42 and a touchdown, and you go, wow, this guy's good. Then he'll hit you with a 5 for 52, no touchdown, but still gets you 10.2 fantasy points, and you're like, wow, okay. And then he'll post 1 for 4.
Yeah, exactly.
But keep in mind, this guy, the Kansas City Chiefs sat Alex Smith last year against Denver, I think it was. I think that was the last game they played.
I think so, yeah.
Sat him and played Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes locked in on Albert Wilson. Albert Wilson was the number 1 receiver that game for the Chiefs. He went 10 for 11, okay? 10 receptions on 11 targets for 147 yards. This guy was averaging about 13.36 yards per target, which it's good. It's way above average, especially on 10 passes. But the thing that sticks out to me is his 90% catch rate. Career-wise, in a season, he's never been over 67%. But he's also never caught over, he's never even – the highest amount of catches he's had in a season is 42. So he hasn't even compared – 42 catches in a season is the same as my number 2 deep sleeper who only played in NFL 1 year, and you're about to find out who that is.
All right.
But it's just, I think he can be really special in Miami. They have Devontae Parker, who I love him, but man, I got to give up on him. That's one of my guys who I'm going to cry about later on. I'm dedicated to the cause, but that guy's let me down too much. And then they got Kenny Stills, who I do think Kenny Stills is a really good value.
Yeah.
He's going a little bit too high for me because I like Albert Wilson, who I could get for free. And then they brought in Danny Amendola, who I don't think he'll be that big of a factor over there. Yeah. So I'm going with Albert Wilson, and he's probably going to be one of my sleepers of the year. I'm pretty sure he'll pan out, and I'm pretty sure you'll be lucky whenever you pick him up off the waiver wire for free because nobody's bidding on him. Nobody's going after him. Nobody even cares about him. He's an under-the-radar sign, and this guy was picked I don't even know where he was picked in the draft. I don't think he was even a high pick. This guy, he's somebody to watch. He's carved a role for himself. This guy is going to potentially win you a league.
All right, so let me ask you, in terms of all these guys, because we're talking about guys that maybe not even drafted, or if they are, they're late rounds. What is the ceiling in terms of final production do you see for them? I mean, do you see them being a serviceable flex, or are they potentially a starter every week, or are they going to be more of a plug and play kind of boom or bust guy that you're really going to like to have when it comes down to playoff time?
I think Albert Wilson could be a good flex, consistent flex week to week.
Okay, all right.
Another one of my sleepers, similar to him, is Trent Taylor for the 49ers, the slot receiver.
Okay.
And I like him a lot. He's a hometown boy from Louisiana Tech, right down the road from me. And he went to high school here, too, in Louisiana.
You probably know his mama. You probably delivered papers to his parents' house or something crazy, right?
Oh, man, that'd be crazy if I did. This guy averaged 10 yards per reception this year, caught 43 balls for 430 yards and 2 touchdowns, which it's not bad. You know how many games he started?
I have no
idea. Take a guess. Just take a guess.
3?
Try 1.
He started 1 game. Okay.
1 game.
Well, you misled me there because you said games, so that wasn't fair.
Well, look, I mean, this guy carved out a role, towards the end. I don't know exactly what week Jimmy Garoppolo started in, but say probably week.
It was like 11 or 12, I think, wasn't he? He played the last 5 or 6 games.
I think game 12, whenever he played against Chicago, but I'm not sure. Trent Taylor went 6 for 6, 92 yards, 100% catch rating. Then the next week he hit 11, big stinker. Then he hit 40, which is pretty good for the San Francisco little whatever they got going on over there. I hope it gets better for him. I think it will. But he proved that he could be a viable slot guy. And the Chicago game was Jimmy G's first game, so I think they developed a rapport over this offseason. I saw a few pictures and videos of them working out. This guy's 23 years old. He's young, and I think there's a resurgence of the slot coming over there. Taylor Gabriel played the slot in for the Falcons, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And Kyle Shanahan was the coach there for 1 year, and whenever he was there, I think that this can be a guy who has those games, kind of like Taylor Gabriel. I like him a lot.
I've been kind of looking at Garoppolo. One thing I noticed about him, and tell me if I'm completely mistaken, but he looks like he has a very fast, snappy release on his passes, which I see as benefiting a slot receiver more than a deep ball kind of guy. Am I completely wrong on that, or am I seeing something? Am I actually learning something here?
You're completely right. I think Garoppolo has he has a low-key cannon. This guy can really beam it across the line and hit that slot guy. This could be Garoppolo's Julian Edelman. I'm going to give you that. Okay. This could be the next Julian Edelman.
And Julian Edelman, I mean, PPR owners love him every year sadly injured last year, but God, he was such a great, consistent week-to-week PPR guy. Golden Tate, another guy like that. And so if Trent Taylor, undrafted, or you can get him in the late rounds and you get a guy that can service you in a PPR league like that, that's fantasy gold right there. Who else you got?
I'm going to go to D'Angelo Henderson.
All right.
And D'Angelo Henderson is a running back for the Broncos. They just released C.J. Anderson.
Oh, I remember. I remember
Booker.
this guy. I remember this guy. I heard good things about him last year. Never really got a chance, though, right?
No, that's the thing. And one thing I don't understand is why would you draft D'Angelo Henderson in the sixth round, 19th overall in the 6th round, if you're not going to use him? This is a running back from the Sun Belt, from the coastal Carolina. I don't even know how to say their last thing, like their mascot. It looks like a rooster. But this guy was successful in college. This guy's 5'7", 208, but this guy tore it up in college, in the air and on the ground. He had, as a sophomore, 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. That's phenomenal. That's a phenomenal thing. As a junior and a senior, he had 16 touchdowns both years and surpassed 1,100 yards. And that's only on, barely 200 carries. This guy, he has talent. He really does. And I think that this guy can carve out a role in that offense if they don't draft a running back. And he can definitely score you a few touchdowns and be a little bye-week fill-in if Devontae Booker doesn't take the job.
Do you see that happening? Because I know people were pretty hot on Devontae Booker last year, too, as a sleeper kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm hot on Devontae Booker. Very. I really do like him. But I do think that D'Angelo Henderson will give him a good run for his money. And you'll see Devontae Booker's ADP shoot up now that C.J. Anderson's gone. But I think that the value, especially in Dynasty, is getting D'Angelo Henderson for free. Go to your waiver wire right now and get him for free. And this guy could possibly be an undercover starter for you, an undercover agent for you. Nobody sees who you picked up. Nobody cares. Oh, D'Angelo Henderson, boo. That's some leftover trash. No, that trash is gold, buddy. That trash is gold.
Okay, so this is and looking at it in Dynasty, I like how you're saying these guys are still on waivers. Like this would also be somebody I might look at in just a redraft league that could be on waivers in the early season that I might want to snag up if somebody else is not working out for me. But in Dynasty, he's the guy you're saying you can grab and hold on to him for a little while, a year, 2 years, maybe see what happens. By the way, I looked up Coastal Carolina's mascot. Here's how you pronounce it. Chanticleer. Chanticleer.
That's way better than I was going to try.
It's defined as a name given to a rooster, especially in fairy tales. What I think is they just didn't want their team to be called the Cocks. So they came up with a fancier word for cocks. So there you go. Little education along with your education here. You got anybody else? Anybody that we're missing out in the deep sleeper bed here?
I got real quick Thomas Rawls.
Okay.
And
all right.
Look, I'm not a big Thomas Rawls fan, but what he did in 2015, his rookie year, can be overlooked. He's not a good pass catcher, but he can get it done on the ground. On 147 rushes, he got 830 yards and 4 TDs, which that's a good line. You know, he was splitting time with Lynch that year. So I do think he has his work cut out for him on the Jets. He has to make the team first, of course. It's not a good contract that they gave him, so he has to make the team definitely. But I think that if he stays healthy, he can definitely carve out a role there, and you could get him for free. And then probably he's in the contest of my sleeper for the year. This is a guy I want in every league, no matter the league. It's Carlos Henderson. That's also Trent Taylor's college buddy.
Okay.
They played on the same team all years in college. I mean, he's from around here too. I guess I'm just picking hometown guys. But this guy went to Louisiana Tech. You know, he's 5'11", 190, might be 200 now. His last year with Louisiana Tech, he was the starting X receiver. He racked up 1,500 yards, 19 touchdowns. And he also played a little bit of running back and had 133 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. So he's very talented, very versatile. He had a freak thumb injury last year that kept him out. And that's just whatever. I mean, throw that injury out because it's not something that happens often. And unless you're Corey Coleman, because that guy breaks bones by picking up a pencil. But this guy can definitely win you a league. I think he has the potential, especially in Dynasty, to be a wide receiver too as soon as next year. We're forgetting Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders were in the same draft class. These guys are getting old. Yeah. They're 30, almost 31. I think that they need somebody like Henderson, and they will definitely have him to build with any quarterback they bring in. This guy is 23 years old, same as Trent Taylor, and he was a third-round pick. They drafted him in order to use him on the team, not to just say, hey, look, this is a guy we're bringing in for a camp body. No, they want him to play. I think he'll get every single reason to play this year. He'll play slot, and he could be that big body slot guy too, because he fights for the ball whenever he catches it. He's not a little soft receiver. This guy is a tough guy, and I really, really like him. Like him.
Okay, all right, all good information. Look, I'm a skeptic by nature, so I'm going to look up some of these players and look at some film and try to verify all this stuff you're throwing at me. But I like the way you're delivering it. You're giving me realistic things to look for, which is good. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about some sleepers in the IDP. Now, if you're new to this kind of stuff, IDP stands for individual defensive player. So in some fantasy leagues, you'll start defensive players, D-backs, linemen, linebackers, and they'll score you points for certain things. Tackles, rushed passes, safeties, interceptions, touchdowns, things like that. The scoring opportunities are endless here. But if you're getting into this IDP, DraftGenius, give me a couple of names of guys that I should be paying attention to if I'm starting to get into this stuff, or if I'm in a Dynasty league that has this type of position.
Well, first off, I'm going to go with I got 3 linebackers and 1 defensive back for you. The defensive back I'm going to name, I have to say his whole name because once you hear it, justice can't be served without saying the whole thing. Jordan Lynn Baxter Poyer. What a name, right? This guy is 6 foot, 191. He's a safety for the Buffalo Bills. He was drafted in the 7th round by the Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't make the team, went to Cleveland, didn't make the team, went back to Philly, didn't make the team really, and then went to Cleveland in 2014. He went from Cleveland and Philadelphia back to back to back. And then he played and did a little bit of work with Cleveland, but then he got the start for the Buffalo Bills and got signed to a decent contract. It wasn't too bad. He broke out this year. This was his breakout year. He had 5 picks, 13 pass defenses, a pick 6, fumble recovery, 2 sacks as a safety, 2 sacks, 63 tackles. This guy was definitely the best value that you could have got this past year. And I think that says a lot, because this is somebody who you probably picked up off of waivers, in IDP. And IDP waivers, especially defensive backs, that's a big thing with IDP waivers, because you don't want to hold
Okay, that is it for the preview, the sneak preview of the new show, Dynasty Wire. If you want to hear the entire show, and trust me, it's a good one. It's about an hour and a half, but you are going to get a ton of good information for Dynasty, and also IDP, rookie stuff, and plenty of information you can use in redraft. It's available now. I just posted it as you're hearing this show. It is also available on the SleeperWire.com homepage and wherever you download the SleeperWire podcast. So go check it out. Dynasty Wire with DraftGenius and Producer Steve. All right, that is it for the Super Deluxe Variety Combo Hybrid Show. Hope you all had a great 420, and we will be talking to you next week. And you know how to reach us. SleeperWire.com, SleeperWire on the SleeperBot app, and our new Facebook group, SleeperWire Fantasy Football Club. Thanks all for listening. We'll catch you next time.